Okay, setting up your site in Cloud is the same as setting up your site in Dreamweaver CS6. In Dreamweaver, a site organizes on your local computer all the documents associated with your website and lets you track and maintain links, manage files, share files, and transfer your files to a web server. So a typical Dreamweaver site has at least two parts. So you have the local folder. This is the folder that you are working directly on your hard drive or your desktop. So let me just go through and just show you before we get started here that this is the local folder that we're going to be working with. You're actually going to be working with it's called Bayside Beat. So I made a copy of this called Bayside Beat Copy. So this is going to be my local folder. Now you could either put this on your desktop or you can put it into your hard drive. It really depends upon how you like to work. And then you have your remote folder. So this is where you store your files on the computer that's running your web server. So this is when you upload your files to your web server. The web server is often, but not always, the computer that makes your site publicly available on the web. So let's just start by creating your local folder. I already did that for you. If you are going to be working on your file, you'll be creating a folder on your desktop. And I went through this in my other tutorials. So create a new folder on your desktop or your hard drive. Do not bury it in multiple file folders. This makes it very difficult for Dreamweaver to find your files and also can confuse your program. So for this exercise, you will bring the Bayside Beat folder onto your desktop. So just like I have here, this folder right here, you're going to bring this right onto your desktop. So when you create a local site folder, you need to create an image or an asset folder and place all your images inside the folder. The HTML does not store images and has to follow a path to find your images located inside this folder. If you open up this folder, you will see that it has inside of it you have this comp here, this comp JPEG, and this is inside here, the Bayside Beat. You're going to see the images. All your images are located in here. So you want to make sure you have all your images located inside the folder. The images you need for this exercise are found in the local site folder. That's what I showed you. So open up the folder in Bayside Beat and then you will open up the mock-up to get an idea of how your page is going to look. So I'm just have this mock-up already opened up here, so let me just show it to you. So this is just an example of how your file is going to look. You're going to be creating a mock-up for your project this week. And it's very important that that you create this exactly how you want your file to look. Now you see this is just a very small little website, just show you how you can lay this out in Cloud. And you can also do this in Dreamweaver 6. There's so many different versions of Dreamweaver that it's not possible for me to do a tutorial on every single version. I've had students use Dreamweaver 4, 5, 5.5, 6, Cloud, Cloud 14. It just goes on and on. Just too many different versions. I'm just going to just do tutorial for CS6, which I already have placed on YouTube and gave to you, and then this tutorial for Cloud. So what I'm going to do in this tutorial is I'm going to show you how to do this project right here, how to lay it out in Dreamweaver, how to set it all up, how to put on your cascading style sheets. You're going to forget what you learned in previous class except for the HTML. You need to understand, have a good understanding of HTML. That's why I did review last week. It's really important to understand this. It's important to understand how to design in web design. So all your principles of web design, all these things are very important for you to understand. So let's just take a look at how we're going to lay this out in Cloud. So I'm going to open up Cloud. So when you first open it up, it comes open with a welcome screen. Now you can do your site, set your site right straight up from this welcome screen. Right here, you just go where it says Dreamweaver site. I'm going to select this, and it's going to open up to a dialog box. Now I'm going to give my site a different name from my folder. You don't want to confuse the site. You can pretty much name this anything you want. Try to remember not to have any spaces in web design. It's just good practice. When you go to put your files, upload your files to your web server, it will not accept files that have spaces. You have to either put a dash or anything, certain items that you cannot use, and I will go through this too with you. So I'm just going to call this my site. Now you can call it anything you want, and I'm going to click where it says local site folder. I'm going to click this little icon here. It says browse to folder. I'm going to go out to my desktop, and I'm going to try to find this folder. It should be just very simple base site beat right here. Copy. I'm going to choose this, and then I'm going to hit save. Now it's going to open up. Now if you don't have this open up in your files, you can just go to Window and make sure you have your properties open up, your files open up. Okay, those are real important. I also have the history open up, my assets, and snippers. There's just a few little things that I like to work with as I'm working on this program. If you have your files open up, you automatically see your files in that folder are going to show up right here, right over here. So next I'm going to create a new page. So I'm going to create my index page. The first page of your site, as I said before, is always your index page. So I'm just going to go File, New, and opens up this dialog box. I'm going to select blank page. I'm not going to work with any of these templates. So I'm not going to work with the fluid layout, the starter templates, site templates, any of this. I'm going to just use a blank page. It's very important as a new designer just learning cascading style sheets to keep everything simple as possible. If you make things too complex, then you're going to get really confused and you're going to get lost in this class. You have only 5 weeks in this class. Try to, unless you understand how to use cascading style sheets and how to use divs, then try to just keep your files simple. We're not allowed to use any tables, so this is something new that you guys are going to be doing. I suggest you just keep this 2 or 3 columns. Now you also notice here that when I open up the new document, I can also make a new CSS document. So I can do that right straight from here where it says blank and new. So I can do my HTML for my page, or I can create a cascading style sheet right straight from here. So let's just select this, and I'm going to select layout none, and I'm going to make sure it's in HTML5. HTML5 works very, very well with cascading style sheets. Dreamweaver has done a lot of work in redesigning Dreamweaver Cloud to work efficiently with cascading style sheets. So I'm going to select create. Okay, so now I like to have mine set up like this way so that I can see my HTML. I'm going to just bring this in a little bit. Sometimes it's not easy to grab. Alright. I'm just going to bring it in a little bit because I like to have it in the split. You can just select design. This is very similar to exactly what you were working with in CS6. There's just a few differences in this program, but some of these differences can be very confusing to new designers. So I'm going to just make sure that I save this. I can name my document right up here. I can just call this home page. And then I'm going to save this. I'm going to file, save as. I'm going to save this as my index page. This is my home page, and my index page is my home page. You have to name it index page because that is the page that your web server is going to search and look for, is index. The very first page in your site, your home page that you're going to create this week as an HTML document, is your home page, and I'm going to hit save. So now I can see this right over in here in my files section, right over here in Dreamweaver. Okay, so some of the, a couple of little things I'm just going to talk about is, you defined your site, and a typical website contains a large number of files and folders. So for ease of maintenance, it is important to organize them and keep them logically. So what you really need to do is, I'm just going to close this up for a minute. I'm going to go out to my folder here. Now, what I need to do is create little folders, and you can create all your information that you need, like your images. We did an image folder. So we have the image folder. You may want to have a video folder. You may want to have a style sheets folder. You also may want to have an external JavaScript file folder. So those are just important to keep everything as organized as possible. The only thing that you should see out front, let me just go to my site that I just did. Let's bring this up. The only thing that I should see initially out front are my HTML pages. Don't embed your HTML pages so that you cannot find them. Now, that's very important that you don't do that. So you also want to be careful about naming your files and folders. So you should not use there should not be any spaces. You should not use I have a PDF file. You can look at this PDF file, and it shows you some characters that you should not use. It's best to use only alphanumeric characters, hyphens, and underscores. So most file and folder names end up as part of a web page URL. So you want to keep it very short. You want to keep it short and meaningful. You don't want to make your file naming your file so long that it's very difficult for your users to remember and find. So long URLs are difficult for users to remember and type into the browsers, especially on a mobile device. All these little things you really need to think about when you're working in web design. So I'm going to stop here, and then we're going to start going into laying out your file using div, and I can show you some of the little differences between CS6 and Cloud.